Hey y'all. So tonight I wanted to talk about what PCOS is. This channel is supposed to be about me living and loving my life with it, but I haven't told you what it is yet. And what is PCOS was the big question that I had when I left the doctor's office the day of my diagnosis. I had no idea what PCOS was. I literally didn't know what it stood for. Thankfully, there's Google and really, really helpful librarians who are more than happy to answer questions and do research, sometimes right alongside you. So here's what I found out. PCOS stands for Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome. Sometimes it's called Polycystic Ovary Syndrome, but honestly, I think it's about the same as saying tomato versus tomato. I'm going to apologize now for the sound of my cats, which you saw one of them run behind me. That was Shadow. His sister, Ashlyn, they just discovered the boxes in the living room, and they also discovered the catnip pouches. So, unfortunately, I don't think there's any controlling that noise. So I apologize in advance. If you too have cats who are completely unpredictable, give this video a thumbs up now. PCOS is an endocrine system disorder, and that is essentially a fancy way of saying your hormones are all out of whack, and that is what you're trying to control and fix when you treat PCOS. Since hormones play a vital role in our bodies, them being out of balance, as you can imagine, causes problems. What does PCOS do to your body? Well, PCOS can do a lot of different things to your body, and you can have a lot of different symptoms. Some can be really harsh, some can be really mild and, kind of mundane, if you think about it, like acne. Acne and oily skin is one of the most common PCOS symptoms, but that's so mundane. I don't think I know anyone in my life who's not dealt with acne before. Just an example of a mundane symptom. The intensity of that symptom, how bad your breakouts are, or how painful the resulting acne is, that varies from person to person. And I've noticed personally, because that is a symptom that I have, I've noticed personally that the acne can be really painful if I am not paying attention to what I eat, which I'm really bad about not paying attention to, but I'm working on that. Anyway, when I eat really greasy foods, honestly, I'll break out like along my jaw and right here on my chin, and those spots will be tender to the touch, not just on the bumps themselves, but they will actually be tender all the way around. That's just one example of one of the symptoms. Eating healthy and drinking a lot of water, they don't give me that kind of discomfort, and they're not as bad, so the breakout's not as bad. One of the symptoms. It's actually one of the most common symptoms, and I think it's in the top 6, if I remember correctly. Irregular or completely absent menstrual cycles is another one of the most common PCOS symptoms, and it's one that I deal with personally. Honestly, it's frustrating because not having a menstrual cycle means that I'm not ovulating, which means that my cysts on my ovaries are just getting worse. And cysts on your ovaries is another symptom of PCOS. It's also in the top 6, as you can imagine, with the name of, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Just for me, an absent or irregular menstrual cycles, for me, are not a relief at all. They are, in fact, a frustration because it means that I'm not ovulating, which means I probably have a new cyst to deal with on my ovary. The cysts on your ovaries can be really painful. I've had 3 that have popped or ruptured, depending on how you want to phrase it. And it's not a pleasant feeling at all. It's excruciating. And it leaves you in discomfort for several days. Those are 3 symptoms that I know of that are extremely common. The oily skin and the acne, the irregular menstrual or absent menstrual cycles, and the cystic ovaries. Those are 3 very common ones that PCOS patients have. And there are 3 that I have, and a symptom that is rapid weight gain, especially in your midsection. And that was one that I had in the beginning, but I actually thought that my rapid weight gain was something else altogether. But again, rapid weight gain is not, a symptom that screams out you have PCOS. It's something everybody, again, just about everybody in my life has dealt with at one point or another. And, before the PCOS diagnosis, it was something I dealt with. After the PCOS diagnosis, it's definitely something I'm dealing with. Be very difficult sometimes to lose the weight. I know that since my diagnosis, sorry, that one's Ashlyn. Since my diagnosis, it's been very difficult for me to lose the weight. Even when I do things the quote-unquote right way, it still can be extremely challenging for me to lose weight. The no Coke challenge that I did earlier in the year, not the one that I just started, but the one that I did earlier in the year, the fact that I lost just over 20 pounds was like someone else losing 60 pounds, okay? It was that big of a deal for me personally. Because for me, losing weight is extremely difficult. Oh, baby girl. For me, losing weight is extremely difficult. So I really, really struggle with that. And I know that there are other PCOS patients out there who struggle with it. But it is not the most frustrating symptom of all for me. The most frustrating symptom for me, and it's not one that a lot of people like to talk about, but it's definitely one that happens, and that is unwanted facial hair. I hate it. It is to be super dramatic, you could say it's the bane of my existence. It's not quite that bad, but I hate it. Especially since nobody wants to tell you when they start showing up out of the blue in case you didn't notice it. They just let you walk around with, these weird hairs in weird places. And I mean, come on. I don't know about y'all, but personally, if you notice something, just pull me aside. Don't do it in public. Don't do it around a large group. Just pull me aside and say, hey, I don't know if you know this, but you have little hair right here, and just wanted you to know. I promise, me personally, if any of you know me in real life and you notice that, please come tell me, because I hate it. And I mean, it's more embarrassing to me to notice it after, some big party or get together with family and friends, which is typically when I notice it, the night when I get home. And there'll be this black hair on my face. And I've gone all night long, taking pictures, the whole 9 yards, and nobody's told me. But that's another common symptom of PCOS. And another one, that one again is extremely mundane, extremely benign, seemingly, but that has to do with the fact that with PCOS, you have high androgen levels, which are just a big fancy word for male hormones like testosterone. Related to the facial hair is a symptom that I have not had. So out of the 6 most common, I've had 5. And this one is hair thinning, as in male pattern baldness. I have very thick hair, and it's not thinning at all. I usually have my hair down, but I'm getting ready for bed, so my hair is up out of my face. But I have really thick hair, and everybody who knows me, wants my hair because it's thick and, they like it or whatever. So for me, I've never noticed any hair thinning or balding, thankfully. I have thick hair and my hair tends to shed, but I don't think it sheds any more for me than it ever did before my diagnosis. The sixth and final symptom of PCOS that's common, that a lot of people have, is insulin resistance. And that is one that I deal with as well. Insulin resistance is extremely close to diabetes and can often lead to diabetes, I found out. I have been very fortunate that mine has not, and that's part of the reason that I'm getting on this no Coke challenge that I'm doing, which, by the way, it's been 3 days and no Coke for me, but that's one of the big reasons that I'm working really hard to get healthier is I don't want it to turn into diabetes. I've watched people in my life that I care about greatly, like my grandmother, my mother-in-law, my grandmother-in-law, I guess, is that a phrase? I don't know. But, there are people in my life my dad, that have diabetes, and I see them have to manage it and deal with it and worry about it, and I don't want that to be something that I have to deal with if I can do anything about it. And that is something I'm working on. But these are 6 common symptoms. You have the irregular or completely absent menstrual cycles, cystic ovaries, facial hair, male pattern baldness or thinning of your hair, you have insulin resistance, and the rapid weight gain, especially around the stomach area. Those are 6 common symptoms, and I had 5 of those, and I didn't even notice. Obviously I wouldn't be able to see the cystic ovaries, and I wouldn't know that I was insulin resistant, but before my diagnosis, I had no idea that I had PCOS. None whatsoever. And it was shocking to me, thoroughly shocking, that I had PCOS. I had no idea that those were symptoms of anything, not anything serious. The only one that I was concerned about was the lack of the menstrual cycle, but I thought that was because I was pregnant again. Again, I'll do a video for Sunday that is all about my diagnosis, the day that I found out, and I'll talk about that then. But I thought that I was pregnant when I found out that I had PCOS. It was a shock. So after figuring out what the symptoms even were and what PCOS stood for, the next thing that I wanted to know was how to treat it. And luckily, I found this really interesting doctor, like a primary care type doctor, not an OBGYN, who was familiar with PCOS. And his recommendation was for me to go on a diet, the anemic, low salt diet, and that, exercise regularly. That was the foundation, as he put it. And then the next step for me was he put me on a medication called metformin, which works to help with insulin resistance by making your body more sensitive to the insulin that you produce so that it can actually use the insulin you produce. And then the next step, because he put me on a hormonal birth control pill, and that hormonal birth control pill was supposed to help me regulate my cycles, which it did, help with the acne, which it also did, help with the facial hair, it did for the most part, and then, it also had the side effect of me not getting pregnant right then. But, it did do what it was supposed to do in regards to my PCOS. So that was really helpful. The healthy diet and exercise, I'll be honest, I didn't give it my best shot then. And I was like, no, I'm not changing my diet. I eat like a normal person. Well, I have since grown up and learned that I can't eat like a quote-unquote normal person because I'm not. And I'm okay with that. But now I see a difference when I eat right and when I exercise. And I can see exactly how beneficial a healthy diet and exercise are. The third thing that he recommended as a treatment, or as part of my treatment, was to make sure that I had really good support. And thankfully, I have a fantastic husband who is there thick and thin. It doesn't matter. So he was there for me. I reached out to a couple of family members as well about it, and learned that they actually had it. PCOS is actually one of the most common endocrine system disorders, affecting women at least. It affects 1 in 10 women. 1 in 10. That's a lot of women. Seriously. I mean, just stop and think about how many women you know in your life. Chances are at least one of them has PCOS. I had no clue. And since I've gotten older and, my groups of friends have changed, I've actually figured out that I know more than the 2 originally that I had. But anyway, getting somebody to talk to about your PCOS is extremely helpful, at least for me. Because when you're having a day where your PCOS is really acting up, whether it's, cyst decides to rupture, which doesn't happen to everybody, so don't get scared. But it can be really helpful to have somebody sit there and listen to you talk or complain or cry or whatever. And thankfully, not only do I have my husband, but I have an amazing best friend. I have amazing family and friends that I can talk to. And I also go online and get involved in online support groups and stuff for people who are actually dealing with the PCOS. And I'll put a link to a couple of places that you can go to get online support so that you can kind of have a nice combination of family, friends, and online. That diversity, at least for me personally, has been really helpful because everybody helps you in their own way, and really that's what kind of diversifying your support group helps with. It makes sure that you have somebody that can help you with whatever's going on right then. I would also like to say that in addition to having a good, group of people to talk to, having a good doctor, a good medical professional that will listen to you and is knowledgeable about PCOS and open, carries on open communication, that is priceless. Picture your favorite MasterCard commercial right now, and then instead of whatever it is, put a doctor who's there for you. Priceless. Because it really is. And I've had far too many throughout my PCOS journey that haven't been. And it is a true pain to not have a doctor who cares enough to listen and be there for you and help you with what you're dealing with when that's their job. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. I hope that this video answered some of the basic questions about what PCOS is and kind of how it affects you as far as symptoms go and what some of your treatments are. As I mentioned, I will be doing a video about when I received my diagnosis, and that video will be available on Sunday. So be sure that you hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss that. If this video was helpful and gave you a little bit of insight and maybe taught you something that you didn't know or refreshed stuff that you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and let me know if you have any comments or questions down in the comment section. I'll see you in my next video. Bye y'all.